All right, welcome everybody. This is Halen House's monthly educational talk for February the 24th of 2022. And I'm Maria Cookson, and we are going to be having our presenter, Cartwright this afternoon with the power of self-talk. And I want to just do a quick welcome everybody who is watching or listening to the replay, or if you're seeing us later today. We appreciate you coming and learning about different parts of trauma or things that are able to help. And so for those that are either coming back to Halen House, or if you are new and haven't heard about us before, I just want to tell you a quick bit about us. We are a nonprofit in Central Oregon with our mission that is healing the root cause and effects of trauma, creating health, resilience, and wholeness. And through this, we want to provide education, tools, resources, and support to the community, both in Central Oregon and at large, in the outer world of the U.S. and the whole world, if possible, since it's the world of the internet now. Anyway, we want to let you know that there are tools and resources available that are holistic, complementary treatments and practitioners, whether they are in the Central Oregon area or in your area. Please, if you have any questions, you can contact us at halenhouse.org or one of your local practitioners to learn about what is available in your area. And so we know from personal experiences and research that there are 6 areas that greatly can get affected from trauma, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, nutritional, and social. And with these, when we're going through life, there are many times that the body, the mind, the spirit will be okay. But there's times when we have what they call big T's traumas, or there are also the little T's of life, little traumas, and they can add up to be quite a few things that lend us to be stuck or have illnesses, sometimes addictions, things that we may not even know. And so that is part of Halen House's mission, is to help with education, and also to give people tools and resources and support to know that there's hope. There's definitely, our body is very resilient. And you can, there's lots of different options. So that is one of our missions, or our main mission at Halen House, is to help bring the world of holistic and complementary treatments and practitioners to you. So today we want to talk about the power of self-talk, which is the use of affirmations that can be so powerful for healing in the grieving process. Our presenter today, Carol, will introduce the use of affirmations for grief with an example of a triggered personal experience to explain the need for grief work. She will also discuss how to use selected affirmations to overcome and work through grief. We're going to talk about both positive and negative uses of affirmations, how to formulate positive affirmations, how to use them effectively, and with personal examples of our own experiences and others such as Louise Hayes and Tony Robbins. Carol will also talk about how science shows how affirmations affect the brain, and then also what happens when we engage our energy in thought patterns that reinforce healing and joy. Carol does, when you are watching the replay later on in our presentation, if you have a paper, pencil, and a small mirror available, she will have an exercise. So you can stop the recording and get those if you don't have those. But I want to welcome Carol Cartwright. She was born and raised in West Virginia by educated and loving parents who cared for her sacredly through serious childhood illnesses. Later, she was a finalist in both the National Science Fair and the Westinghouse Science Talent Search Contest, which earned her a full scholarship for college. Carol graduated from the Colorado College and pursued graduate work toward a PhD in experimental psychology at the University of Colorado with a specialty in learning theory. When she became a certified Christian educator through the PSUSA and worked in that field for many years. She recruited and trained volunteers, taught classes, wrote articles, published a curriculum called Life through the Reformed Church of America, co-authored 2 books in general psychology and led workshops on grief, loss, and forgiveness. She did her postgraduate work in gerontology at the University of Denver. And quite the career, Carol. So I want to welcome Carol and everyone this afternoon, and I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Marie. I'm happy to be here today, and I just want to tell you that I'm here today possibly because I think I'm sort of a wounded healer, and maybe some of you are too. I've suffered many of the usual losses in life, just like lots of other people, and I'm still here to talk about it. But it's my hope that in telling some stories and so on, and some of my experiences, that I might help some other people feel a little bit better and find some healing in some of their mental or emotional wounds as a result. Well, I intend to talk about 2 different methods of self-talk, which I have used and continue to use to help process any negative events or experiences that I might have in life and create new positive ones. I hope that you can incorporate them as well. One is about the use of verbal and written affirmations, and the other is about overcoming resistance. Well, I want to put out a disclaimer first of all. Contrary to the old Cheers theme song, which I think is being taken over by Applebee's today, there are times when I think it might be good for other people not to know my name. Well, anyway, I want to start by telling a story. It happened to me a long time ago, and I had gone through about 5 pretty serious losses and so on in my life, that just one after another. I had gone through a divorce. My dad had died from cancer. My mother had strokes, which left her with dementia. So after Dad died, I had to take over her care. I was starting a new career, and my boss died. I was raising a teenager. I was just overwhelmed with all kinds of work and grief and loss, and didn't know what to do. And then a little bit later on, I had to have major surgery. Was that a surprise? I don't think so. Well, anyway, I had just begun my new job as a Christian educator when my boss, who was a solo pastor, he was 49 years old, I think, at the time. He looked healthy and he was kind and compassionate, and he was mentoring me every day for 3 months. When I heard about my dad, and I had flown across the country to be with my family, and I got a call. My new boss had suddenly died with a heart attack. He was at work in his office at the time and had been flown by one of those bright orange flight for life helicopters to a hospital, but they couldn't save him. In his office hung a poster that he liked a lot, and later on his wife gave it to me, and I've kept it on my walls all these years because it reminds me of him and my start in life as a Christian educator. And most of all, it reminds me that he trusted me so much with his, the thing that he loved so much, which was that church and its people and its mission and so on. And he trusted me. And I have this thing, and it says, in the midst of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer, by Albert Camus. Well, I still have that on my refrigerator, and I just love it. So I used those extensive notes that I took when he was mentoring me to help create a class for the congregation so that they could process their loss. And the adult and children's education program began to pick up again and flourished, and the church survived its devastating loss. I stayed there for a couple of more years, and then I moved on to another congregation. Well, about a year later, I happened to be driving along a road that was close to a freeway when overhead there was this loud sound, and I looked up, and there was that bright orange flight for life helicopter. And I burst into tears. And I had to pull off the side of the road, and I was just inconsolable. So anyway, I realized that the trigger had been too much and that I still had a lot of grief work to do. I had not realized at the time, I didn't even know at the time, that we can choose many different ways about how to mourn losses, and that there were some things that I might have done or could have done that might have helped me more than some of the things that I had done. Mainly, I was just focused on doing whatever happened to be the next thing that I had to do, which was a lot in those days. And that's what many of us do. We just focus on the tyranny of the urgent, as it's called. Well, I want to tell you another story. One of my favorite movies is called What About Bob? Have you ever seen it? Okay.
Yeah.
With Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray. Well, I
that's
just
a
have
good
to
one.
watch this a few times a year when I want a silly movie. Anyway, Bob's a very neurotic guy, and he is on his way to see his new shrink. Well, on his way, he is constantly repeating aloud, I feel great, I feel good, I feel wonderful. While at the same time, he is wiping his hands, wiping his face, wiping off things, and so on, even crawling on the sidewalk. It is obvious that Bob's self-talk and his actions are not congruent. So I can see where some of my self-talk also undermined my efforts at solving some of my problems in life and at grief reduction. Well, I learned later that feelings, thoughts, and actions, 3 for 3, I call them, has to equal the same thing. They have to represent the same thing. They have to represent the same kinds of positive results. And that's why Bob's affirmations didn't work. That's why a lot of ours don't work. Probably some of you have said, oh, affirmations don't work. I've tried those. Okay. Well, it's because of the way the brain works. So what we're doing here is learning and practicing new ways of creating new neuronal connections and new neurons. Well, I found out later that affirmations are actually a very positive thing and a good thing to use. It's called self-talk. And in spite of Bob's ineffective use and my ineffective use and maybe yours, I simply needed to learn how to use them properly. And I eventually did. And I'll teach you how to. Let's imagine that we want to lose weight. So we might say to ourselves, I'm not fat. Well, the brain, the unconscious part of our brain, which is a lot, says, I'm fat. So, because the brain remembers the positive things that we tell it. So we have to form our affirmations in the positive and in the present, not the negative. The brain is hardwired that way to do it. So no matter how much lettuce we might eat today, when we get on the scales tonight, we won't have lost an ounce. So affirmations have to be presented in the present tense. You can't say, I am getting rich, because the affirmation in the future won't work. Getting rich will always stay in the future. So we need to look at ourselves straight in the mirror. That's why I ask you to have a mirror, and it's recommended. And it helps if we stare in our own eyes and actually use our name as if we're talking to somebody else. We can say, Carol, you are slender and fit. You weigh a healthy 118 pounds, or whatever. And all your clothes, your slender clothes, look good on you. So writing out the affirmations maybe 100 times a day is strongly recommended. And it really doesn't take much time. It just sounds like it does. A person I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, named Louise Hay, did this for 5 or 10 minutes a day, every day for months, to create some things that she wanted to create. So if you take 5 or 10 minutes a day to create your affirmations and write them out, say them while looking in a mirror, make them positive, make them in the present tense, and so on, and use as many kinds of sensory input as you can come up with. There are other people, like you've probably heard of Jack Canfield, who is one of the authors of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Well, a long time ago, I was listening to a talk of his, and he was talking about drawing out affirmations and then pasting them on the wall so we would see them all the time. Well, the affirmations have to be realistic too. You can't say, I'd like to have $500,000 in my bank account today, when actually you only have 500. You might want to start out by saying, I want to have $750 in my bank account. There was once a sign in a bar that I heard about that said, free beer tomorrow. Well, nobody ever got a free beer. Well, I want to tell you about a book that was written by Louise Hay. It tells the story. It's called You Can Heal Your Life, and it's an old book. Louise wrote many books and has given many talks in the world. I think she died recently, I'm not sure, at about the age of 100. Anyway, in this book, she tells the story of her life, which was full of abuse and of trauma and poverty as a child and as a young adult. But she used positive affirmations primarily as a means to overcome all of this stuff as an adult. And she was a founder of one of the world's biggest publishing houses, one of the world's wealthiest women, and has gone on to help to heal thousands of other people of their emotional and physical diseases in life. So anyway, in the book, she describes hundreds of causes of many physical and emotional problems. and she gives suggestions for how to cure them as well. She never had the chemotherapy or the surgery or whatever it was the doctors recommended she had for her cancer, which she developed as an adult and which she attributed directly to the abuse that she had suffered as a child. She just used all these personal things. And after about 6 months, she got the medical profession to agree that she was cured of her cancer. She went on to help thousands of other people help heal their problems. And now I'm not recommending that you throw away pills or that you don't do what your doctor tells you to do. If it was me, and what I do is I just do everything. I just do it all. So anyway, Louise wrote out and said her affirmations about 100 times every night. She also used several other holistic forms of healing through the months that resulted in her getting rid of her cancer. Now, I would like for you to take that piece of paper that you have in your pencil, and I want you to write down some kind of an emotional or bodily feeling that you might have had when you woke up this morning. Did you feel tired still, sleepy, worried about something that's going on in your life, stressed, or did you feel happy and energized and looking forward to doing something later on? Write one saying or affirmation that will help you to state and feel exactly what you would like to feel tomorrow morning when you wake up. Now, remember to use those guidelines that I talked about. It has to be in the present tense. It has to be positive, etc. Now, I have written a bunch of affirmations to help you get started. But because later on, I would like for you, you can write this on your paper too, and you can do it later. Later on, I'd like you to write out about 100 affirmations that you pick, and they have to be written by you, not me, because I have to fit your life. Anyway, here's a couple of thoughts just to get you sort of started. I honor all the good things from the past, for in doing so, I'm free to live fully today. I happily give blessings to those that are around me. I release my need to suffer. I choose to move on. I welcome the present. I choose to live in the now. I am mindful of everything that I experience. I enjoy lots of small things in life. Now, you also might say things, just short things like, I am strong, I am happy, I am generous, I am loving, I am completely fulfilled. Those are just some ideas. Now, write out your 100 ones later on. Pick one or two that you really like or that you think is going to knock down a whole bunch of dominoes in your life. And then pick one or two to work on for about a week at a time. And then write them down. Remember all the guidelines. For the present tense, use your name, look in a mirror, make them positive, make them real. Now, the second type of self-talk that I want to introduce today is called the Sedona method of releasing resistance, because we all have lots of resistance. I have tons of resistance in my life, and most of us do. Procrastination is a big one for me. I can procrastinate on procrastination. So anyway, I give myself permission to change and access my mind before I'm doing these affirmations. It takes lots of energy to do new and challenging things in life and to reduce or to eliminate negative patterns. So we got to get rid of the resistance. Ask yourself if you can give yourself permission to do the things that you need to do. The founder of the Sedona method, who's no longer alive, says that even the impossible becomes completely possible when we are fully released on it. You see, this method teaches us to get rid of all the little baggage that we have, even the good baggage. An example that he gives is about using a ball. Now, we hold on to lots of stuff tightly, the shoulds, the should nots, all those things that we've been taught that we have to do and whatnot. But if we're going to throw a ball, we have to, at some point or other, let go of it. That's good baggage. We're holding on tightly to this ball, but I've got to let it go if I'm going to throw it to you. It's a paradox. There are lots of paradoxes in life. So we have to open up our hand and let it go. And we know that we can do this easily. It's easy if we just remember to do it and if we know to do it. So when we're stuck in some ways, we need to let go of stuff. We hold on tightly to those emotions, thoughts, and those actions. They become patterns in our lives. Our life, our upbringing has conditioned us to not let go, but we have to do that. So we want to express things in positive ways, but often sometimes when we're frustrated, we express things in negative ways. And sometimes one of those negative ways is yelling or hitting something or beating ourselves up. Oh, I'm so good at doing that. Oh my gosh. So anyway, sometimes we think, well, it's out of sight. So there it's out of mind. That doesn't work either. No, and you can't tell the guy who just saw a spider disappear underneath his bed that out of sight, out of mind is going to work. It doesn't work. So an alternative to expressing inappropriately is releasing. And that's what we need to do. So we're going to practice that here a little bit. It's another use of self-talk, and we use all those same positive things that we use with affirmations to use the self-talk. Now, Mr. Canfield, that I mentioned before, who is one of the authors of the Chicken Soup series, recommends this method. He says that it is effective for freeing us of all those shoulds and should nots that we've embedded in our subconscious mind over the years. So first of all, we have to decide on something that we want to change. And then we can maybe decide on a second thing. Well, let's look at this. Why did Humpty Dumpty have a great time or have a great fall? He did it to make up for a bad summer. So let's have a great time and do some affirmations and do some releasing of some stuff. It's no wonder that most of us don't have a lot of fun in life. We started a project that we were enthusiastic about, and then we gave it up and switched gears, and nothing gets finished. It's not productive. We're told to do stuff. We're told not to do stuff. We tell ourselves to do stuff. We tell ourselves not to do stuff. We push ourselves uphill all the time. But we have to give ourselves permission. We have to release things, release resistance to do stuff, and then we have to practice. You might want to write down those things. Give ourselves permission, release resistance that we might have, and then practice doing the right thing. It's approximately a three-step process. First of all, pay attention to what you want to release, what you are constantly thinking, acting, or doing, or feeling. And resistance is going to show up. It always does. Simply acknowledge it, welcome it. Then ask a question. Could I let go of this resistance? And answer it with a yes or no question. And it doesn't matter whether it's yes or no. It doesn't matter, because whether we say yes or no still very often just lets us relax and release. Ask yourself, can I welcome this resistance? Can I hold on to it? Keep asking questions. Repeat these questions. often until you feel lighter and freer. Now, we all know what resistance feels like. You can push against your hand. You can feel it in your chest or in your stomach or in your shoulders or whatever. And we also know what it feels like to relax and let go. So you'll feel lighter, you'll feel freer. You'll know when it happens. Just notice your feelings and your thoughts and your actions. So once you've learned that you can let resistance go away, you'll do it more easily, and you'll find that you can do it more easily. It's another paradox that we can say yes or no to our questions and still let go. So we can release resistance to doing something that we don't want to do by doing a similar exercise. We can ask ourselves, can I allow myself to let go of resisting doing something? Would I? And then ask yourself, when? Keep asking questions. You can ask questions about anything, things that, or actions, or people, or places, or and you will feel that resistance released and dissolved. You will know when it happens. So I want you to take that piece of paper down and write down another piece of sort of homework. I want you to list anything that you know that you have resistance towards. Maybe it's doing the laundry or cutting your toenails. It can be anything. It's just make a list. Now I want you to make a second list of things that you have to do. We all have lots of things that we have to do in life, and just see what comes up. We're all different, so our resistance is going to be different too. You can ask questions about things that you have, things that you might be, people, places, it doesn't matter. Just substitute words as you need to, like having or being for the word doing. You might have resistance to having more money, for instance. So release on that, release on both sides. And Mr. Dwoskin, who took over the foundation that this came from, says that we should even release our permission by saying, can I give myself permission to hold on to this resistance a little bit longer? Sometimes that's important to do. And when we have permission to do what we're used to doing, sometimes it just goes away. But let me tell you something about what you do when things don't work out. Don't beat yourself up. Now, I'm really good at doing that. I can beat myself up over the littlest things, and probably most of us can. But I learned a long time ago from an organization that I was a member of not to use 3 C's. The 3 C's are don't condemn, don't complain, and don't criticize, either yourself or about other things or other people. So I know it's hard, and I do it anyway. I still beat myself up when things don't work out, and we always have failures. So just acknowledge them and try to move on. And anyway, we can make benchmarks, and sometimes some of the things we are doing are just sort of stepping stones or benchmarks towards something that's a little bit bigger or down the road away. Anyway, let's go back to talking about belief again. We may believe that we want something, like, I'd love to have a new Tesla, but after we've had it a while, it's just another car. And we only believed that we wanted it. So I want us to realize that some of our beliefs and some of our wants are only short-lived things. And we can't really always get what we really want from life from external things. Most of the times we can't. So I want you to think about things that you really want when you're making these lists of things to affirm or to release. consciously choose what you really want. And when you catch yourself feeling or thinking or saying things that are contrary to what you really want, then just say, oh, stop it, Carol. Just stop it and change and do something different. And I realized, and I learned eventually, that belief is a choice. That's not something we always think about. Belief is neither true nor false. That's something else I didn't realize. I thought belief is just what you believe. Belief is powerful. We are told that we think about 60,000 thoughts a day. That's an awful lot. And a lot of those have to do with what we believe. So give yourself permission to believe the things that you choose to believe and that you want to believe, because they will help you create the life that you really want. We have choices. Belief is a choice. I didn't used to believe that. I used to just think, well, that's what I believe, and that's true. Well, belief is neither true nor false, and belief is a choice. Get that embedded in your mind. Transformation doesn't come from knowledge and information alone. There has to be some sense of surrender and permission and practice. We get what we reinforce. We get what the unconscious believes, and it will believe anything that we tell it often enough. So catch yourself when you're telling yourself negative stories, and we all make up stories about stuff all the time. Catch yourself when you are denying that change can't be possible for you. You can say, oh, somebody else can do that. That's not for me. Okay, catch yourself when you're blaming yourself or blaming others about stuff that isn't working out right. Where do you put your energy, your bandwidth, as they call it today? Put it towards positive change. I want you to train your brain to feel love, joy, abundance, peace, and all the other wonderful things that we really need and want in life. We gradually, because of the way the brain is constructed, it's neuroplastic. And this neuroplasticity lets us put fresh stuff in the front of a drawer. And our old stuff, it's still there, it's in our unconscious, but we're not going to access it quite as easily. It's like putting stuff in a file cabinet. So that neuroplasticity is in our favor. The brain is a wonderful organ that is 3 pounds of something like cottage cheese that can learn and change. And we can substitute old negative patterns and thoughts and emotions for new ones and put them in the front of our filing cabinet. So spend some time deciding what you really want in life, and then create the affirmations and do the resistance releasing to make them work. We all really want love in some form. We want some security. We want some control. And we want a sense of personal identity. Those are things that we really want in life. So what we're doing here is defining and creating new positive neurons to get rid of the old ones and let the old ones rest in peace. And because of neuroplasticity, that's what the brain will do. And that's what will happen in our lives. Now, we've probably all watched Tony Robbins, and I was in Barnes & Noble the other day, and he has a brand new best-selling book out. But we've always all probably watched him give one of his big enthusiastic talks on TV. But all that energy and enthusiasm wasn't probably what he woke up with that morning. He probably woke up just feeling a little bit like you and me. But he spends a lot of time ramping up that energy and all that enthusiasm by saying lots of positive affirmations while he's jumping on a trampoline, no less. And he does this for a long time before any one of those presentations. So here you've got examples from Louise Hay, Tony Robbins, and Jack Canfield, as well as my own experience with affirmations and releasing, that they can work if they're done effectively, if they're done in the right way, and if they're done often enough. So get busy and just use them all the time. It's a way to increase personal power. And by aligning those three things, the emotions, the thoughts, and the actions. So write those down. Emotions, thoughts, and actions have to all be aligned. You've heard those several times. Now, I want to teach you a relaxing method that I learned when I was in college a long time ago. And you can use this, and I find it's good to relax a little bit before we do our affirmations and before we do our releasing exercises. Just take a deep breath through your nose, and I don't care whether you open your eyes or close them. It doesn't matter. But we're going to start at the top of our head and work through each muscle group all the way to our toes, holding each muscle group for just a second or two, and then letting it go. So start at the scalp, start at the face, squeeze your face real tight, let it go. Then tighten your neck and your shoulders, let them go. Then tighten your upper arms and your lower arms, make a fist, let them go. Then return to your back, tighten it up. Pull in your chest if you can. Pull in your stomach until it seems to touch your spine. Let it go. Now tighten your hips, tighten your thighs, your knees, your calves, your lower legs, your ankles, your feet, each in succession. Just let them go. Take another deep breath and relax. How do you feel? This is a wonderful way to relax before you go to bed at night, before you go to sleep. It really helps you to do this. It also helps us to get unstuck from things that we're stuck thinking about or doing. And so doing that. Now, I just love living in the flow. And I know when I'm living in the flow and when I'm not, because those feelings and actions and all kinds of things just seem to be accepted. And I like to just affirm or release as I go through a day. And when I do that, I'm living in the flow, and it's really a good way to live. Things just seem to work out smoothly. Even the bumpy spots seem to just kind of calm down quite a bit. It's like that old Irish blessing, and St. Paddy's Day is coming up soon. And I'm going to read that to you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Once again, I'm going to ask you to spend time thinking about what you really want in life. You will probably need to make a big list and then narrow it down and create affirmations that lead towards accomplishing those things and release any resistance that you have towards accomplishing them. Then your life will flow. Let go of chaos, lack, sadness, limitations, short-lived fun, things that we don't really want or need, and go for the gold. We just got through watching the Olympics, didn't we? The peace, the joy, the fulfillment, the belonging, the happiness. We can do it. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Bye-bye. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm ready to talk to you now about them.
Well, thank you, Carol, so much. That was wonderful. And you're truly right. The writing affirmations, I mean, writing things down and letting that go it can make a huge difference. And then just in that breathing technique and just releasing too is something that, I mean, I think we all get so busy in the life, and then we get so many times during the day and we all forget to breathe.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I have a couple of other breathing exercises that I will teach you later on when I do that other talk.
Okay. No, well, thank you very much. This was
very helpful.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there any questions? Okay,
No.
Cheryl.
I have a question. Carol, that was really a good talk. Lots of great stuff in there. I just want to bounce back to the grief piece.
Mhm.
So when someone is grieving, they can be really stuck in that, the pain and hopelessness or whatever it is that they're feeling. Can you give me an example of how you can use an affirmation or the release information to help you with that space?
Well, we had a family member die last summer. And one of the things that I have been catching myself doing is seeing him in a certain spot every time I'm close to that particular place, which happens basically every day. And I have been releasing that. And I have found that now there have been several times lately when I have been walking right by that spot and not even thinking about it.
So how do you actually release it? Do you have to like tell yourself?
I ask myself, I give myself permission. I have given myself permission, which I talked about earlier, to say, I give myself permission to not feel the grief, the sadness, the whatever that I normally see when I look at that particular place.
Okay.
The other thing is that I've done lately is I've been having some Achilles heel problems. And I have gone to see probably 3 different kinds of medical people to try to do this. I've been releasing the pain and the swelling on that. And I've been doing affirmations about it. And my foot is getting better.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
The other thing is I started to catch a cold one day, or I was having some symptoms about catching a cold. And I started doing this. And it just went away.
Great.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm doing it to release current grief as well as old stuff, because I carried stuff around in my body and in my brain and mind for years. I was a mess for years with all those 5 things that I talked about earlier. And and they did so many negative things to me. Just loss of joy in life, loss of productivity, probably loss of income, loss of, I don't know, just because it compounds when you get stuck in grief, when you get stuck in thinking about all the losses that you've accumulated, then you just accumulate more. It just adds to itself. It's sticky.
Yeah. It's interesting how our body and how our mind does that. I mean, just
and
the rumination and the negativity.
2 million years old, basically. And they have been trained through evolution to hold on to the negative because it saved our ancestors' lives. you know, you had to pay attention to whether there was that tiger in the tree that was going to eat you for lunch. It was like, I want to eat lunch. I don't want to be eaten for lunch. And if I can eat lunch today, I might be able to enjoy tomorrow. But if I'm eaten for lunch, that's the end, you know. So our brains are hardwired to hold on and to pay attention to the negative. And we have to work at doing the positive stuff, the affirmations and the releasing and so on. It takes work, it takes courage. It takes a little bit of time, but it's worth doing because we have to pay attention to the little things in life that add to happiness and joy. And that's one of the things that I'm working hard on still. It's a lifetime effort, I think, to release and to get rid of all of the negative stuff in life. Does that help, Cheryl? Does
Yeah,
that
great.
sort of
Thank
answer
you.
your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's no, really good. And you're right. And we don't, so many people in society and stuff, we don't talk about grief or
We
some
don't.
of the,
And I
know.
didn't know either. And now I know that we can choose different
Yes.
ways to process it. In the past, we didn't even know that. You know, nobody understood anything about grieving until, well, Freud kind of introduced the idea at some point, and then there's some things that about the way he thought about it that have been thought that's not right today, you know. But after World War I, people started paying more attention to it. We used to have more support for dealing with it than what we currently have. And I'll talk about that at some other time, maybe.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, it is changing. So that is good. And that is healthy.
This COVID situation has changed an awful lot of things and the way we have to process it and so on. It hasn't been good.
It gives us all lots of work to do.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Cheryl, or was that okay? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think your comments about belief and the wants, I mean, that's definitely something that like I wasn't always aware of either.
Me either. It's stuff I've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes such a huge difference. And so, and the idea of choice. So I think especially if someone has been in lots of situations that feel traumatic or are traumatic, that seems like a huge hill to climb, but but it is climbable and changeable, and we appreciate you talking about the affirmations and all these and how you can make these changes, because it really is.
Well, I think that one of the reasons that affirmations haven't worked for a lot of people is because they haven't done the releasing that's needed to do along with them.
And that could probably well
we're still tightly holding on to those things that we need to let go of.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and you're right, that there's so much that you feel like you like we have to hold on to everything. We have to hold on to the past,
right.
or thinking about the future instead of being in the present and having that what that opportunity for a release can do. And like once you start having a release or two, how you can change, how your breathing, but also the changes that you can make, and you're being in the present tense, and the positivity that does happen to your you know, many parts, your body, your mind. Can be really amazing. So and I've been finding that lately too, and I like your exercise too, because I think the writing down, and I do art and everything too. I've been doing that with painting and stuff, but the intention, and a positive intention. But
did you paint the heart that's on your
yeah,
wall back there? It's very pretty.
yes, no, not the heart. That actually was my mother, but
There's
did that.
a picture
But
right behind your head. I can't see.
yeah,
very
behind my
well.
head is
Yeah, you painted that.
I painted it, yeah, a few years ago. So, but
Okay.
it's amazing that when I've been writing and just letting go and releasing. I mean, that's part of a morning practice I've been developing. That
You've been developing that as well. Okay.
yeah, it really can really make a difference, and there is, I hadn't always thought about it, but it is a release, you know, an unconscious release sometimes, that so that it's been very helpful. And then I look back at some of what I've done, and I can see a change. So it's
Good.
yeah. So it's a very interesting process. I mean, it seems simple, but at the same time, it can be hard for people.
Well, just like I think I said when I was talking, that Louise Hay recommended writing out and saying these affirmations 100 times a day, and it sounds like that's going to take forever,
Right.
but it doesn't.
Right.
You
Yeah.
actually do it quite fast.
Yeah.
And,
No.
and particularly if you make them short and concise and to the point,
Yeah.
you know, you can spend 5 minutes or 10 doing them before you go to sleep at night, and you've got it done, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, and that would be a nice, that could be a nice way to end the day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, I think we're just about at the hour or so. So
Okay.
if we have no more questions, I want to thank you very much. Your talk was very informative, and I'm in the exercises, and we appreciate you coming on today. And
Thank you. I appreciate being able to do it, and I hope it was okay.
it was perfect. And yes, and we will be thank you for everybody for attending, and we will be posting that on our website in the next few days. And then we will be doing our next talk will be at the end of March on the 30th, I believe. But please check our website for next month's talk and future talks. But thank you very much, Carol and Cheryl, for joining, and have a wonderful, lovely day. So thank you.
It's very cold here today.
Okay.